Hey everyone, welcome back to Beat the Sheet, an Xbox Game Pass challenge. The only podcast aiming to complete every single one of the 502 titles that have been made available on Xbox Game Pass since the start of 2020. As always, I'm your host Andy Wood, and I'm joined by my co-host Josh.
Hello, yes, this is Josh.
Nice. So, on this week's show, we're asking all the probing questions, like who was asking for a Destroy All Humans remake? We've got a Dino Crisis on our hands in Second Extinction. And Konami hate you, and they want to make sure you know it.
Oh dear, we got a very 90s flavour to this show this week with a bit of Destroy All Humans, Dino Crisis, Konami making games.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's going to be a good
all
show.
Going on. So, how are you doing this week, Josh?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Just plugging away on some Game Pass. Went into the Killer Instinct games this week. Decided to give them a go. The final, just Killer Instinct Classic in general is a very difficult game, but even I did not expect to have to use, thanks to achievement tracking, I can find out 189 continues to get through the arcade mode. That is a ludicrous amount of continues. How do you fail something 189 times and keep going? Well, I'll tell you how you do it. You want a gosh darn Y on the sheet. That's how you do it. That's what we do around these parts. I didn't even celebrate when I beat the final boss. I just sat and stared into space for the best part of 5 minutes and just then thought, it's 1:30 a.m, go to bed.
Yeah, that's all you can do at that point, you know. It's you look at the sheet sometimes and you think, you know, those big heavy RPGs, they're going to be a killer. You know, you got some games on this thing that are like 50, 60 hours long. You've got Kingdom Hearts 1.5 plus 2.5 Magical Super Remix, where it's actually 7 games, but it's only worth a single Y. But nah, it's stuff like this. It's difficult stuff that just rams you against the wall repeatedly, like Killer Instinct. That's the killer. But you know, at least you got it done, because I imagine if you would have gave up at that point, it's just done, isn't it? You can't go back. So yeah, well done with that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. How's your week been? What have you been up to?
Yeah, my week's been okay. I'm kind of similar to you, really, trying to hit up some of those shorter games for the sheet. So I've been playing anything that like runs only a few hours. I played through the story mode of Marvel vs. Capcom. I forget which one it is. I think it's Infinity War.
Infinite, I think.
That's the one. That game is, you know, the worst Marvel vs. Capcom game, but that still kind of equals an entirely playable game. So not a bad why. I also bought Pokemon Snap, which is going to, you know, stay on my shelf sealed because we don't have time for games that aren't Game Pass. So that's nice. A fun thing with that is, though, that I bought it online, and for whatever reason, it came with like just some free garbage that I don't need. I think it's like a poster and some stickers or something. And they were meant to all get sent out at the same time, but they couldn't find the poster and the stickers. So I got the game on Friday, which is, as I said, nicely sat on my shelf now, just sealed, not being played. And the poster and the stickers are on their way today. So there's a delivery man bringing me literally just a Pokemon Snap poster and sticker set, like as if I could possibly care about getting those items. And he's just got to bring that all the way here, and I don't feel great about it. Has to be said.
Oh, you'd be furious if you didn't get them. You've already planned out the spot on the wall where your Pokemon Snap photo is going to go. Just stick it up over your university degree. Just take that shit off the wall. Get the Snap poster up there. Stick some stickers on your fridge. Oh, what? That's the life, man. That's what you need.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm hoping to print out like all of my pictures from the game. You know, that's just going to be my new future now. There's no more Game Pass. There's only actual Pokemon photographer. That's my life.
I see the future where you possibly have had children, and you say the kids go, "Do you have any photos from when you were young?" And you go, "Actually, I do. I do have this one scrapbook I put together." You just open it up; it's just full of Pokemon Snap photos.
This Pikachu's on a surfboard. Look at him go! It's just great.
Is this why there's no pictures of me? There's no pictures of me here, Danny. Well, we didn't need any of you because you were worth nothing. And if the time I lobbed an apple at you, you just cried.
Yeah.
So here we go.
I mean, it seems like the right decision. Can't lie. Gotta get those good Pokemon picks. But anyway, we have tons of Game Pass fun to come up today. So let's get right into it.
Okay, there have been 2 new additions to the Xbox Game Pass service this week, and they are Destroy All Humans, the remake, and Second Extinction. So another fairly quiet week, just the 2 titles, one of which is a giant ball of nope, and the other one is a giant ball of really shouldn't have been made. But nonetheless, what did you make of these two titles?
Yeah, as you said, another quiet week. Second Extinction's a weird one in particular because on the one hand, you can kind of see it as like a day one launch of sorts into Game Pass, and day one release into Game Pass, always a good thing. But also, it's not finished. It's just a game preview thing, an early access thing, and for me, that doesn't really count. It's kind of like, here you go, Game Pass players, play this game that we haven't finished and test it for us because we can't be asked. So I'm not huge on that. I don't love the game preview stuff, but Destroy All Humans, weird sort of mid 2000s era action game that nobody really needed remade, but here it is. So why not?
Why not? I mean, Destroy All Humans, to be fair to it, if you used to tell me, Josh, what do you want from Game Pass? Destroy All Humans is actually the kind of game I want to see come to the service. It's a game I would have never played, would have never bought, no chance in heck. But it's kind of going to be okay. It's very short. It's a quick, breezy playthrough. I'm going to get into that. That's what I want from Game Pass. I don't really want good games on Game Pass because I'll just buy them. I want the average dross, which I would never play for. That's what I want on Game Pass. And to be fair to Game Pass, there's a lot of average dross. So maybe it's only when you try to beat all of the average dross that the misery really compounds.
Well, that's the problem, Game Pass is largely full of complete mediocre sort of stuff, but this at least is in my kind of wheelhouse. If Game Pass spent every week just putting weird early to mid 2000s like action games on the service, like give me, Destroy All Humans this week, Stubbs the Zombie next week, maybe a bit of Blinks the Time Sweep and Cat the week after. That's exactly what I want from this service. I don't want any more indie puzzle platformers. Please just stop with that. No more roguelikes, but just let me be a goddamn Time Sweep and Cat. That's all I want.
Such a simple thing to ask for. But before we get on to Destroy All Humans and our more in-depth thoughts on that, we've both played a little bit of Second Extinction, despite the fact that with it being a game preview, with it being functionally unplayable in solo mode, it's kind of been dismissed as a nope on the sheet. So that is good news for us, but we still put a bit of time into it. So what you got here is a first-person shooter where you shoot a lot of dinosaurs. I mean, that's kind of cool. I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I wish it was a Dino Crisis game, but here we are. What did you make of it?
Yeah, as you said, it's hard to go too wrong with, here's kind of a semi-open world area. Now shoot a load of dinosaurs. It's pretty fun to do. Like I did the kind of training and tutorial mode in this, and learn the controls and things. And in that bit, it just throws you in a little kind of training battle with a few dinosaurs, and yeah, good fun. The shooting feels pretty solid. The dinosaurs are kind of hilarious because they just ragdoll all over the place. I don't know if they're going to be changing the animations or like working on them a bit more because they are really dopey at the moment. But it's fun. It's fun and kind of silly. So fine with all that. But as you said though, yeah, you get into the game and they just make no adjustments for people who aren't in teams of three on this game. And I know, fair enough, you are meant to be in a team of three, but if I play a Left 4 Dead or a World War Z or anything like that, any of these kind of co-op shooting games where you team up to get through a level, they either give you AI partners or they kind of scale down the enemy counts to map to how many players you've got. And this game just doesn't even make the slightest attempt to do that, to the point where I was playing like the first mission of this game because there's some kind of campaign, which would usually make it qualify to actually be needed to complete on the sheet, but game's in game preview, so it's not even released. So no, thank you. But anyway, yeah. So first level, getting up to this first objective, and there was a big, massive kind of T-Rex dinosaur there. And I used my entire ammo clip on it, shot the whole thing full of every bullet I had, threw every grenade I had at it, brought in an ammo drop, filled up my gun again, and used every bullet on it again. And it was still alive because the game was expected me to have 2 more guns in the fight to shoot it as well. So like, it's just completely fundamentally unplayable as a solo in this game. You can't do it. It's not even worth bothering. There's no way.
Yeah, you've got to go into this one with a couple of buddies because even just getting to the big dino fights can be a bit of a nightmare because they do just swarm you with endless velociraptors and other tiny little dinosaur dudes who are just trying to eat your face off. And you could just about hold them back, but you're going to need to use health packs. You're going to need to, reload and re-ammo at some points, and eventually they're just going to overwhelm you. There's just not enough bullets being flown about to survive these battles. I mean, they're kind of fun. The dinosaur physics is kind of hilarious. They kind of bury underground for reasons which completely escape me. I don't even know if they did that. And then they fling themselves at you in this hilarious way where it is almost like a ragdoll effect. But it's just... I don't think it's meant to be hilarious, but there's something about a Velociraptor just throwing itself at you, not even trying to bite you, just flinging itself at you, which I find just inherently hilarious. So that's great. But as you mentioned, the actual controls are good. You move about fine. You got some dodges, a few traversal options. You got different classes of characters who are clearly designed to be built together to actually beat some of these bigger boss dinosaurs correctly, rather than just having one person who has got only one option against it. And if you don't have the correct kind of skill, you're kind of screwed. So yeah, there's cool stuff here. I kind of like where they're going with it, but yeah, it's just functionally unplayable for us.
Yeah, well, exactly, right. And then, in addition to that as well, this has, when you turn it on, it gives you one of those messages of, oh, this is an early access game. You might encounter bugs and crashes and things like that. So, just be aware of that. And I just don't think that's okay. I mean, this game, I tried to do that first mission a few times before I just completely locked into the idea that you cannot do it on your own. And I had the game hard crash out of the mission twice. And then my only option when I loaded the game back up was to start the mission from the beginning again. So I'm completely losing that progress to hard crashes, which the developers are aware are in there. And they're just like, it's fine because it's early access. Nah, it's not. It's not fine. Small bugs and issues are fine. Balancing issues are fine. Tweaks like that come to the game as you work on it are fine. But I'm not in support of a world where we can bring games to early access that just hard crash, and the developers are clearly aware of it to the point where they've wrote a message about it when you load the game up. I just don't think that's anywhere near good enough.
Yeah, I mean, my game crashed on me twice. So it's not just an issue which affected you, it affected me as well. And it is annoying because you can get a respawn to, go back in and try and do some more damage to who you've already killed. But the game will crash. It crashed every single time I died, it crashed. So I had to go back to the start of the deployments again. And that's a little bit soul destroying, particularly as a solo play. But even if you're doing it as a co-op team, one of your players is going to drop out if their console crashes. And then all of a sudden you're in a 2-on-1 situation. Somebody else dies and they're in a 1-on-1 situation. You're just doing what we're doing and you can't win the game. So
exactly.
There's a lot of issues here. This is clearly early access stuff. As you mentioned, I'm not a huge fan of early access games coming to subscription services because I'm technically paying for this and having no choice in it. But, people who do early access kind of stuff, on the whole, it tends to be free. And if you are going to pay for it, you're committed into that game world. I mean, my subscription covers the cost of this being added, and I didn't want any of my money going to this. It's not bloody ready. So that's a little frustrating, but I suppose it's only happened a couple of times. Grounded, I think, is still in game preview, and that was released about a year ago now.
Yeah.
So clearly, I wouldn't be surprised if it just never came out and it just stays here as this.
Yeah, well, that's the trouble, right? You never really know what anyone is going to do with these early access things. I mean, Fortnite was technically in early access for about 7 years. They only released it last year or something officially, even though it was clearly finished before then. So it's just, I don't know. You're taking a bit of a gamble if you try and start this game up anytime soon, I think. I can't possibly recommend that people try and play this yet. I just think, it's like you said there, if you get a team of 3 in a game and a couple of them hard crash out, then you won't be able to finish the level. You can't beat this game on your own. So you'll end up having to quit out and start it again. And if we're getting this many crashes just from, an hour and a half of trying to play it, and we've got a couple of crashes each already, I just think it's not worth trying. If you really like the look of the game and you think it looks interesting, maybe keep an eye on the Twitter feed for the developer or for the game, and just keep an eye on the patches and the updates they're doing, because eventually they will sort out the crashing issues at least. So I'd say wait until you see some kind of indication that the crashes are getting fixed and getting better, and then jump in if you want to.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. But beyond that, look, it's a game where you shoot dinosaurs. Dinosaurs, for whatever reason, aren't often a frequent enemy in video games, despite being really cool. So yeah, it's got some novelty, if nothing else. A bunch of hungry dinos charging at you, wanting your face is cool. It's a fun gameplay loop, and it's a perfectly adequate first-person shooter. It could be tightened up a little, but it's in game preview, so I'm sure it will. Yeah, I mean, it's okay. I imagine in 6 months' time, you could have a particularly good experience here, but For now, I don't know, unless you're really desperate to shoot a velociraptor in the face, and I don't blame you if you are, but I'd probably say you could probably just let this lie dormant in its second extinction for a few months yet.
Yeah, exactly. Wait for the third extinction, maybe. See what that's like.
See what that one's like. Okay. Talking about games which we thought was extinct. Here's Destroy All Humans, a game series for the mid-noughties, which it got a little bit of hype, mainly because it had a weapon called an anal probe. And so every teenage boy like me wanted to play it because that was hilarious. Of course I wanted to play it. Why would you not? And of course, here we are now. It's back. The probe is back. The game has been remade, glitzy and glamorous and looking like it was made 5 years ago, even though it only just looks now. It doesn't look fantastic.
But still, that's better than looking 15 years old, so it's something.
Exactly. They've taken 10 years off it, so that's something. That's a start. And here we go. You've got Destroy All Humans. It's a pastiche of 1950s sci-fi movies. It's got a lot of humor. It's got a lot of charm to it. You go around killing a bunch of humans. What do you make of that?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we spoke briefly earlier on in the show already that like this kind of thing is right in my wheelhouse. I don't know. I get a kick out of weird sort of mid 2000s, early 2000s games like this. So I'm more than happy to see this come in, even though I'm kind of well aware that it's fundamentally not a good game, right? I mean, basically this game is basically you play as your little alien dude, you're Crypto, and you're coming to Earth to pretty much take it over and and rule all the humans and kill them all or whatever. And yeah, in doing that, you kind of just do about 2 types of missions over and over again for about 8 hours, which maybe doesn't sound that fun. But at the same time as that, you do sometimes, get in your spaceship and blow a ton of stuff up. And that is really fun. So it does balance out. I don't know. I enjoy this game in spite of it, basically. It's a strange one.
Yeah, it's dated. It's very old. I mean, you can tell they've done nothing to update the mission structures of this game at all. It's completely as I remembered it from 15 years ago, down to the very missions I was playing. I was actually starting to remember more of it as I was playing it, going, I did do this. I have already done this. So it is very similar. Essentially, when you say those 2 mission structures, you're talking about missions where you disguise yourself as a human and infiltrate a base. It's every bit as dull as that sounds, and yet you'll do it for 80% of your runtime. And the other 20% is escort, protect said item missions, which died a death in video games about 10 years ago when we all went, enough of this, it's terrible. Well, it's back with a gosh darn vengeance here, and I'll tell you what, there's a bloody novelty to them now, because it's been so long since I played missions like this. I'm like, sod it hell, I'm protecting a moving target. This doesn't happen anymore. We don't make these things. So it's kind of charming to do it in a weird kind of way.
I totally agree, man. I was fine with it, like, yeah, I'd go and infiltrate my base, do my disguise crap, and then, then the game would say something like, oh, you need to go and defend your spaceship because the people are going to get it. So you go over there, you fight a few waves of enemies. You got like all your kind of fun weapons, like you can just rip people's brains out. You got the anal probe. You do a lot of electric shocking to people, and yeah, I was the same. Like this felt fresh, and I know it's not, but it just kind of did because everybody decided this was a bad game design choice about a decade ago and stopped doing it. But now we just see 5 million roguelikes. So give me all the defense escort missions you want. It's new again.
Yeah, we've been broken down to the point where escort missions feel like the revolutionary gameplay again. This is how many gosh darn roguelikes I've played at this point. But there's a lot to like it. I mean, the story, as you mentioned, you play as Crypto, you're coming down to Earth, you got to take it over. It's as simple as that, but it's kind of funny. It's got the odd stupid line. The voice acting is pretty cool. Crypto, I could have sworn was John DiMaggio from Futurama. And yet it isn't. I just could have sworn this was Bender because he kind of has that gravelly kind of growl to his voice, which is quite funny. He's a funny character. You got your alien overlord too, who's also a total jerk. And you're just there to take over these 1950s Americans who are obsessed with communism, because of course they are. It's 1950s America. They're terrified of the encroaching red menace. And there's a wonderful, endlessly running joke about how the fact they keep thinking he's a little green man when he's obviously grey. And it repeatedly just pisses him off. And he's like, not green. And it's funny. It got a few titters out of me, a lot more than a lot of games that's trying to be funny do. So I thought it might come across as a bit dated, a bit old. But I don't know. I kind of got into the story and the humor of this game. It had a few smiles from me occasionally.
No, I agree. There's a few parts in this where you end up, you're imitating a human, and you end up having to do like make some dialogue choices, and yeah, they're kind of fun too because it's, as you said, it's the same thing. Like there might be like really obvious evidence that there's clearly been an alien attack or aliens are here, and you can just throw the blame on the communists, and they'll all be like, "Yeah, everything's fine," and it's great, it's good fun. Like I like that a lot, and I kind of, one thing I love about this game, even though again you couldn't do this now because the technology's moved on, it would just seem a bit shit, to be honest. But I love how this game is, it's kind of trying to pretend it's this really big experience, this big world to explore, but actually it's kind of just 5 really small sandboxes. Like the whole game takes place in about 5 little sandbox areas, but you jump back into them to do different missions. And I don't know, I actually enjoyed that structure, because at first I thought, oh, this is going to get tedious. I'm jumping back into this city area that I've already been in 3 times. But as you go in there and as you do more stuff, you kind of, you'll end up doing something slightly different, or, the final time you're there, you're going to probably blow it all to hell. You can jump back in and do like little kind of side missions, like races against the clock, or like abduction missions, which are fun. And I don't know, I think it's just that thing of, because this is using gameplay ideas that we've abolished now, like seeing them again is actually kind of fun. And I guess this falls in the same region, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to give it its credit, in my mind, this game was a sandbox game. Thinking back 15 years, I thought this was a sandbox. Yeah. So clearly that weird mission structure that they had did work on me, because I thought it was a big sandbox. And when I first had to select a mission, I was like, why am I selecting missions? Why don't I just run around the sandbox? It threw me, but you kind of get into it. You kind of you get that out your system pretty quickly. The missions themselves are fairly short. None of them go on too long. They're about 15, 20 minutes a pop. That's fine. That's pretty okay. You got frequent checkpoints if something does completely wreck your day, because the auto select on it can be a little bit iffy. You think you're clicking on something and it'll suddenly switch to something else. And boom, you've given up your disguise to everybody. That'll happen occasionally. Frequent checkpoints mean it doesn't annoy me too much. There's just a perfectly adequate game hidden underneath all this weird kind of old-fashioned nonsense. There's some fundamentally decent game design here. I like blowing up buildings. Not many games just let you blow up buildings anymore in the old EDF kind of way, which nobody else is doing that now apart from Earth Defense Force. So it's kind of fun to do. It's fun to have a bunch of stupid weapons which you have very simple upgrade trees on. I don't need to think, what am I going to put my 29 nodes into? It's just, here's 4 things, and you just upgrade the ones you want to use, and that's good. That's easy. It's simple.
Exactly,
you play this simple, easy game, and there's something nice about that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. You touched on another kind of old gameplay mechanic there, that this is resurrected because now it's gone. If you fail a mission in this game, you get to start at a checkpoint. You don't have to start the whole game again, which is quite nice. It's a refreshing change from modern gaming. So yeah, big fan of that too. But as we said, it's a weird one because you will have a lot of fun with this game. I think I really do think you will. Destroying stuff is incredibly fun, but underneath that, when you get past that, it is, as we kind of have said, it's a game where 80% of it is just really tedious missions. And I don't know, they somehow don't ruin the experience, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone else picked this game up, played like 2 hours of it, and just thought, I'm incredibly bored, I'm not playing this again. So, it's hard to know for sure if this is just hitting, the exact kind of stupid game I feel like playing rather than anything else, because I don't think this is a great game at all. But I've really enjoyed my time with it. This is one of my kind of, in terms of like new additions that come in, and we're working hard to sort of race through these games as quick as possible. Like, this is one of the more painless new additions we've had all year. Frankly, I had no trouble racing through this game.
Yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed my time with this. I liked it a lot. There are frustrations and annoyances. Some of the guns don't lock on as you'd like. Ammo can be a bit weirdly scarce, and the way you get ammo is you transfigure things in the environments, but that can be a bit of a process which you don't really have the time to do when you've got everybody storming at you. But again, checkpoints kind of make that less frustrating, so that's something. I did think there's a system in this game, and you'll need to use it constantly, where you read people's thoughts. You use that to keep up your disguise, your holobob, as it's called in the game. And I remember clicking on my first person and hearing the funny line I got back to me and thought, I wonder how long it's going to be before I hear repeated dialogue. And that answer was actually given to me 10 minutes later, because it does not take long to get repeated dialogue in this game, and that's fine. I kind of find something charming about that because they've not even tried to record new lines for this. It's an old game. It's no Red Dead where everybody's having an entire life story playing out, and it doesn't even matter if you hear it or not. Everybody's just a big archetype. I don't know. I think there has to be almost like an age rating on this game, and instead of it being like the PG-12 we usually see, I think it needs to be 30. I think you need to be about 30 years old to appreciate Destroy All Humans. Because anybody younger than that will probably find it a bit old-fashioned because it is very old-fashioned. I don't know why they've remade this game. I don't think there were many people of our age demanding a Destroy All Humans remake, but here it is. And if you're over 30 and you like old games and you have a bit of a nostalgia itch to do something which nobody seems to do anymore, you might actually quite enjoy this. This is perfectly fun.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think you're right with I think it is. It's a game for 30 and above at this point. If you're any younger, you'll probably just think it's a bit garbage. But we've lived through these games, and it's kind of nice to go back to something that felt big at the time and see how much it wasn't. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, look, I've came out of this giving it a 6. I can't give it any more. It's not a good game. It just can't go any higher than a 6. But I've really enjoyed playing it. So if anything that we've said sounds like it might be worth checking out, like I'd almost recommend this more than any other 6 I talk about because I've had fun with it. But yeah, it's just a weird old game.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 as well. I think it's fun. I think it's dated and old and stupid and doesn't need to exist, but I'm kind of glad that it does. And I suppose I can pay it no greater compliment than that. Destroy All Humans shouldn't exist, but the fact that it's here doesn't offend me. So well done on that, Crypto, you weird freak. Okay, let's quickly run down a couple of the coming soon titles we heard about this past week. There was a howl of despair from the Beat the Sheet officers when we heard that Dragon Quest Builders 2 was to be dropping into the service on May the 4th, and less of a howl of despair for FIFA 21 coming into EA Play as part of Game Pass Ultimate on May the 6th. So we've got 2 titles already announced. We know they're coming in. Nothing else to come as of yet, but we will get a big update on the Tuesday. We'll let you know what gets announced then. But what did you make of these 2? Dragon Quest, man, that's 60 hours, lad. Yeah,
that's a real long game, man. I mean, like Dragon Quest Builders 2 is by all accounts a very good game. It's really highly regarded critically. It's meant to be great, and I played a bit of the first one, a bit of Builders 1. It was when I got like my PS4 for the first time, and it was just, there was some novelty in playing anything that was only on the PS4 at the time and not on the Xbox. So I gave it a go, and it was fun enough, but these building games just aren't for me, man. It is a full RPG game. It is a full kind of RPG where you go around, do quests, battle people, but underneath the surface of that, you are also doing a bit of Minecrafty building. You got a town, you're building it up. And it's that part of the game that I just didn't want to do. I just saw it as work. Like, we do enough jobs in Game Pass. I don't need to be building an entire town at the same time. So yeah, look, good game. It's probably an exciting one for some people. It's another one of these. We got those rumors a while ago of 6 Square Enix games coming in after Octopath Traveler, and this is obviously another one of them. So it continues to show the support from Square for Game Pass, which is a good sign. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky one to power our way through, I think. And then yeah, FIFA. We've known that FIFA was coming in May for a while. Very happy to see it being as early as May 6th, because the earlier the better for these things. Like that's going to be the latest FIFA game for a solid sort of 3 or 4 months when it comes out into EA Play. So it's nice for people who didn't pick up the latest version. You do have the latest FIFA for a good while there.
Yeah, exactly. I think Dragon Quest Builders, the Dragon Quest underneath it appeals to me. I would love to play that, but I just don't want to build. I hate these building games, man. They do nothing for me. It's not my genre in the slightest. But for those who do like it, I think you could lose your life to Dragon Quest Builders, because it's essentially Minecraft, but with game design. And that's slightly cruel to Minecraft, which is, of course, brilliant. But nonetheless, also not something I want to play. FIFA 21. Cool, man. FIFA. Love FIFA. It's a great series. Get to play as Hull City, champions of League One as of this weekend. That's the honour we've all been waiting for. So that'll be a good time, even though I'll probably just play the stupid street football mode and never switch it on again.
I mean, whatever the story mode is, that's what I'm going to be hitting, and then it'll be getting a Y. So if it's Volta, then it's Volta.
Okay, let's move on to our leaving soon titles. Now, these were confirmed to us at time of recording this very morning, so we don't know if there'll be more to come, but we're fairly certain it's the full lineup. We believe they'll be leaving around the 15th of May, if, general Game Pass leaving timetables follow. And we've got 4 games which have been announced, and they are Alan Wake, DayZ, Dungeon of the Endless, and Final Fantasy IX. So, what did you make of this one? There's a big boy game in there.
Yep. That's a pretty nasty list, to be honest. We've both been working hard lately to get some of those quick, easy Ys. Some of the quick, short hour games that we can power through, and this has put a real spanner in those works because, Final Fantasy IX, that's about 40 hours of work. Dungeons of the Endless is a roguelike and a pretty difficult one at that. That's going to take some time. DayZ is obviously a gigantic nope because it's just a kind of multiplayer survival game, but we have to waste some time playing it now, so that's a bit miserable too. So yeah, pretty tough. Like, at least we finished Alan Wake. At least that's something. But challenging list, man.
Yeah, that's a tough list. Dungeon of the Endless. I know I'm not going to be able to beat that, but I'm going to have to play it enough to be able to say I've played enough of it. So there's 8 to 10 hours of my damn life wasted on yet another roguelike. My God. Will this stop?
There's no end, man.
There's no end to them. And they keep finding new spins. This is a roguelike tower defense. Who asked for that? Those are 2 genres which really don't mix. But whatever, here it is again. Yet another one. DayZ. Yeah, we're just going to have to throw some hours into that. That's hours I didn't want to waste on giant open world zombie multiplayer games. But Final Fantasy IX, look, I want to play Final Fantasy IX. But that will be good. But I was really hoping to blast through some games this next 2 weeks. And I'm just going to be playing Final Fantasy IX now, which there's no bad thing. But, at the same time, I only get 1 Y off the back of it.
Well, that's the problem, right? And I was kind of hoping to, because obviously we just reviewed Final Fantasy VII last week. I've just finished that one up, and I was thinking of taking a little bit of a Final Fantasy break, and then the natural next step would be to play 8. But here we are. 9 is leaving apparently, so I'm gonna have to jump forward to 9, then come back to 8. It's a whole thing. It's a bit messy, but what can you do? And another thing actually we should note at this point is for the one person out there who does care. There are another batch of old sports games leaving Game Pass at the moment via EA Play. So if you have any particular care about FIFA's 15 through 19 or NBA Live 18, then I'm very sorry to tell you you're running out of time to play them. So yeah, just upsetting news for all of the fans of 5-year-old sports games there.
I can only assume it's for people whose teams have been relegated out the Football League. So,
yeah.
Notts County fans, it's a bad week for you. But other than that, I don't know who else got relegated. Is the Hartlepool? I think they might have been out there. Yeah, so we got a couple, but everybody else, you're fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, so this week we're going to cover Alan Wake, a game we both played about 10 years ago. So look forward to some really fresh thoughts on that one.
Yep.
And then the week after, we'll probably review DayZ and Dungeon of the Endless. There's even the chance it could be the week after that for Final Fantasy IX, because that's a big game. I don't know if we'll get that done in 7 days. So could be looking at 3 separate weeks of leaving soon titles. So plenty to cover, plenty to get our heads around. But let's talk about Alan Wake. Remedy's absolute classic title from the Xbox 360 era. Really good game. So, as I mentioned, it's about 10, 12 years old now. What do you remember about it? Because I played it on launch, so I don't know. I'd had a book.
Yeah, I bought this one day one. It's about Alan Wake. He's the guy who's in the game. It's called Alan. Probably my second favorite Game Pass Alan, behind Alan from Elvastia Chronicles. So there's that. It's kind of a fun little horror action game. I think his wife goes missing, and he has to go and find her, and then he finds loads of pages from his book that he didn't remember writing, and the story's becoming true. It's a whole thing. You got to use a flashlight to fight some enemies. I definitely remember that. I also remember that everything was branded with Energizer batteries in this game, and it was relentless. I think the torch was Energizer. You had to pick up Energizer batteries to put back in the torch to make it like power back on. I'm surprised they didn't just make it last forever. Ruin the game balance, but make a real point of how good Energizer was. But yeah, that's the game, man. You're gonna do some good story stuff. You're gonna do some good combat where you have to shine your flashlight on the enemies to weaken them, and then you can shoot them once the kind of shields have been taken off them. You have to use the flashlight obviously to stop the enemies approaching you as well. And yeah, look, it's a really good game that we played over a decade ago. If this had been maybe dropped on us a bit earlier, I might have tried to replay a bit, but what can you do? It's very good, and I would massively recommend people play it, but it's very tough to remember all the details at this point.
Exactly. So in lieu of this, we're going to do a feature on gaming's top 10 Allens. No, we're not. I don't have any Allens. I can't remember any more Allens. But do write in if you could tell me any more Game Pass or gaming protagonists named Allen, because I'm all invested on that now, because we can totally rank the Allens later on if you so wish. We'll do it. We're idiots. We'll do anything for this.
We'll rank the Allens. We'll beat the Allens. Whatever. I don't care. Just give us all the Allen content.
Just let us know. Let us know in the comments below, or whatever those odious YouTube people say. Okay, let's talk about my thoughts on Alan Wake, because I do actually like this game. This was a good experience. It was a survival-y horror kind of game. It's not full-blooded survival horror. I remember that much. There's little bits of trying to manage the light in your battery, for example. You've got to be careful with how much you use it, otherwise you'll find yourself not being able to fight off enemies when you need to most. So they kind of ramp up the tension by forcing you to enter certain areas, knowing you need to conserve energy, knowing that you can't light them up to see what's around you. So there's certainly some haunting kind of elements to that, which I like a lot. The actual idea of a horror novel coming to life is a cool idea. I swear this was a Stephen King novel. I swear Stephen King did something exactly like this, but maybe he didn't. I don't know. The man's wrote about 700 books, so it's very hard to know just what he's done and what he hasn't. But it does have, if you are a fan of his Stephen King kind of vibes to it, but instead of, it taking 70 hours to read, it'll probably take you 10 hours to play. So that's something. It's a perfectly good title as this. It's a good game. The combat's snappy. It feels pretty weighty. The guns you use are happily kind of splattered around. You get to use the torch to knock off the shield of the enemy before you start hammering them with bullets. That's a cool mechanic. The story itself is well told. The atmosphere is haunting. The music's good. And the reason why it's been off of the shelves for so long, by all accounts, because it had a lot of licensed tunes. So that's why they couldn't sell it for the best part of 2 or 3 years. So play it now before that happens again. It could be disappearing off the store entirely. It's a bit of a shame, actually, this isn't a more longer-term Game Pass edition. I mean, it's very synonymous with Xbox. I'm surprised Remedy just didn't skip the rights over wholeheartedly for a bigger lump sum 5-year fee or something. But here we go. You've got 2 weeks to play it. It's not that long. It's about 10, 12 hours. So you can play it, and I'd probably recommend you do.
Yeah, no, I definitely recommend you play this again. If I had the time, if I wasn't going to be playing bloody DayZ and stuff like that, I'd be playing Alan Wake again, because it's a great title. I would also say, like you said there, Josh, the licensing troubles this game had, it did disappear for a good while. So it's a game that's well worth owning a physical copy of if you can. Just means you can pop the disc in and play it whenever, which is always nice, rather than relying on these storefronts to keep the game up. So that's definitely an option. And yeah, just, great game. I actually gave this an 8 out of 10. I just wish I could remember more of the reasons why. But definitely a big recommendation to play it over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. I'd also probably say this is an 8 out of 10 for me. But of course, I am also just trying to remember off the back of what I did all those years ago. So well worth playing, well worth checking out. By all means, give it a shot. Okay, let's move on to our oft-repeated section, What Are We Playing This Week? And this time, we've got 2 absolute humdinners for you. 2 of the absolute bottom-of-the-barrel trash that Game Pass sometimes likes to throw out. They're not really that bad, but they're utterly unessential. We've got Descenders and Max, The Curse of Brotherhood. So let's talk about them both. Let's go into Descenders first. This is a roguelike bicycle game because nothing apparently can't be improved by adding roguelike in front of it.
Yeah, man. I saw you playing this game earlier in the week, and I've been playing Descenders quite a bit on and off for probably a couple of years now, to be honest. This came to Game Pass ages ago, and by all accounts, the developers keep saying that having it in Game Pass has been great for them. So they're keeping it in like long term, which is good. And I don't know. I think it's fun. I think it's a good time. Yeah, it's a bike roguelike. You ride down hills, and then if you manage to survive riding down the hills, you go to a different area, and then you're riding down hills in like a mountain next or like a snowy area, and you kind of do that, and you're trying to get to the end. It's maybe not essential that it's a roguelike, you could argue. But yeah, I remember seeing you played it and thinking like, no way is Josh actually enjoying a roguelike here. And it's refreshing to see that you were in fact not enjoying a roguelike. So that's good.
I will say that actually there's a lot of Descenders that I do like. Let's talk about the structure. So as you say, it's a roguelike. You have 4 different areas you're trying to traverse your bike through, usually made up of about 6 to 7 stages. It's all randomly generated, but 6 to 7 stages before you get to the big boss jump at the end of each world, which you have to beat, have to jump over, land the trick, and then you move on to the next world. So you're looking at about 28 to 30 levels to complete the game. I don't necessarily mind that, partly because they have a option where you can skip certain worlds once you've beat a boss jump enough times, usually successfully doing some mechanic as well. So you may need to do a trick over it, or you may need to be going so fast, or whatever it is, you have to do something else, and then you're able to skip straight on to the next area. So the roguelike elements don't kill me too much, but the mere fact that they even had to put that in implies to me that it probably doesn't really need to be a roguelike.
Well, yeah, that's it, right? I mean, it's kind of like there's elements of this game that are fun. Like I do like the handling of the bikes. I like the idea of just being able to pick different levels, and I'm even fine with it having like procedural generation stuff. It makes sense to have a way to just quickly spin up different levels that have different hills, different turns, things like that. It's all fine. But yeah, maybe this game just didn't need a focus on reaching the end. Like maybe this could have just been a high score based game, and you just tried to get a good score going through a certain amount of areas. Like it doesn't feel like there's any real drive for me to get to the end, other than the fact that the game is telling me it has an end, which is maybe not the most not the best reasoning behind being a roguelike, because I don't particularly care.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. I'll say again, I like the handling of the bikes. I think they handle pretty well on the whole. You certainly get a very good sense of speed in this game when you start to really crank up down the steeper kind of tracks as the game progresses on. You really start to motor along, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty fun. So there's a lot of good momentum to it there, and it twitches well enough, and the tricks are easy enough to pull off. So that's all good stuff. That's all working well. Core mechanics are here. The problem that Descenders has is that, as mentioned, you have to get to the end of these courses, but you only have so many lives to do it in. So you start off with 4. You can increase them by doing certain level fulfillments as you go along, be it like do 2 backflips, get a couple of close shaves, whatever it is, to, bolster your life total. But the problem with having lives in a game like this, where the fun of it is going fast and pulling off gnarly tricks, is that to go fast and pull off gnarly tricks, you might crash. And therefore, you'll lose a life. And so essentially, I ended up playing Descenders like I was going for a slow ride in the forest, because I didn't want to die, because then I couldn't carry on to the next level. So all of the fun that this game actually does have in its mechanics, by the fact it's a roguelike completely unnecessarily, means you don't do it. You won't be you'll think, look at that big ramp, I could do a great trick off that, but I'll probably die, so I'll just swerve past it. I mean, that's terrible game design. You've got all these fun things you can do, and your first thought is, oh, that might hurt, though. Like a bloody little narc. It narcs you out, man. Like, it's the narkiest bicycle game I've ever played. I don't play that many, but nonetheless. Why am I avoiding the tricks? Because I think it might hurt me. That's preposterous. How have you managed to get that into your system?
No, you're right, man. You are right. It's because, like you said, as well, this game is trying to be fast-paced, trying to be exhilarating. There is a great sense of speed when you go down big hills. It's got a decent kind of pumping soundtrack that kind of, is trying to push you on. And you are right. Like you're going through this map, and you can see on the levels how steep they're going to be, how fast they're going to be. And after you've done a good few runs and you've almost got the fun out of your system and you're trying to get to like further in the game, you're looking at these boring ass straight line maps with no drops and being like, oh, nice one, I can go there and just and just have a tedious stroll down this hill over the next 2 minutes. Like, you are right. The best way to succeed at this game is to ensure you don't have any fun. So yeah, it's a big old narc game. And then also as well, I would say that even if you do that, even if you have a great boring run where you manage to get to like the end of an area with all your lives, those kind of super jumps you have to do at the end of the levels, they might just screw you. You might just lose every single life on that one jump, and then that's it. The whole run's dead. So even that's frustrating. I guess roguelikes have difficulty spikes all the time, but yeah, you might spend half an hour doing a perfect route through the levels and getting to these jumps, and then nah, sorry, you've jumped too far and you didn't land cleanly, or you didn't jump far enough and you get hit by a train. Just garbage like that happens and your run's over. So yeah, make this a high score game. Encourage me to do jumps and tricks. That way the further I get, the more opportunities I have to do tricks and jumps and score more points. And I'm not going to be thinking, oh, I better play it safe. But because of the roguelike structure, yeah, you kind of have to try and be as bored as possible.
And that's just silly. You shouldn't really be playing a game thinking, I'm having too much fun here, I'm going to be not able to play it anymore. Better hammer the brakes and take the long route. That's a very odd way to do it. But even doing tricks, you get points and scores for doing certain things, like do a backflip, you'll get some points. Do a skid, you'll get some points. But the points don't mean anything. You get nothing for doing them.
Yeah.
They don't unlock customization options for your bike. You can't get a better bike. The bike you've got is the bike you've got. You just deal with it. All you can spend your rep on, which you earn by doing tricks, is customization options. And who cares? Man, I don't care what my stupid bike is wearing. What the heck? Why would I give a damn? And yet that's all you can spend it on. So even the act of doing a trick gives you no reward. You get nothing for it over there going, I did a trick, that was nice. So even that system doesn't encourage you to do tricks. The whole game is pushing you to be as boring as possible to get through it. And that's just odd. That's really weird game design, especially when the soundtrack, you mentioned it's pumping. I think it's bloody annoying. It's just this loud, blaring club music. And it's okay occasionally when you're like really rocked in along. I'm cool now. But when you are just going, well, I better not take that jump. The last thing you need is like some giant club song playing in your head. Because all I can think is, it's ridiculous.
It's like you've been dragged to a club that all your friends wanted to go to and you have no interest in being there. And you just stood in the corner with like a glass of tap water with the thumping music's playing. You're just like, I just want to go home. I can't be bothered with this. That's effectively what you are doing.
Exactly, and it's just utterly bizarre. It got to the point where I turned the music off and just played it silent with just the sound effects of the woods because it was more bearable than just swerving obstacles to, do nothing. And I just find this odd game design, man. It's so strange how they've managed to build a fun, what could be a really good arcade, high-scoring game and waste it on chasing a trend. And this is my biggest issue with so many roguelikes. If I don't hate the genre inherently, I think there's good games which can work in it. Hades was a fantastic roguelike. It played into what it should be, and by all accounts, Returnal will be as well. But so many roguelikes can't answer the fundamental question of why are you? That is my problem with it. And Descenders, if you were to ask them why you're a roguelike, they'd go, so we didn't have to design dedicated levels. And that's essentially it, because the procedural generation here, it's fine. But you'll go across the same sort of obstacles all the time. It's so bland at times. It's so boring at times. I'd rather they just crafted some cool levels for me to actually hit some sick tricks on, rack up some points. And if I die, fine, I'll try the track again, man. I'll give it another go. That's more fun to me than playing like a narcissical game. And not what anybody needs.
No, it's fair. And even like I said as well, though, you could have kept the procedural generation if you wanted and just made it a high score chaser game. Like, it's the lives and the need to try and get to the end. It's just like I don't care. I don't want to do that. Like, and yet the game is kind of pushing you in that direction. And yet at the same time, I do like this game. It might be a symptom of the fact that I've been chipping away at this for a couple of years now, and I've just been playing like. I don't think I've ever spent more than 1 hour at any one time playing Descenders. I throw it on, do a couple of runs, I come back to it a few months later. So in that way, it's a really good game to have in Game Pass, considering that it has stayed in for so long, because it's a nice game to just play when when you're at a bit of a loose end and you don't have another game going on. It's not something I'd want to hammer a whole week at. If this came to leaving soon, I'd never played it before. I would not want to spend 2 weeks straight trying to get to the end of this stupid game. But for something just to throw on and have a kind of good little bike downhill and actually take the risks because you're trying to have fun rather than get to the end, it's good.
Yeah, there's enough here to recommend to give it a go. I just wish it was less of a parent, essentially. I just wish it was letting me have fun. And, for all its blurring soundtrack and all its cool adrenaline when it does pick up, ultimately Descenders just sticks on the training wheels on you and demands that you take it as slow as humanly possible if you wish to succeed in its game world. And that's just bizarre. I ended up scoring this game a 5 out of 10. I'm not a massive fan of it. In fact, it gave me a much greater appreciation for another bicycle game on Game Pass, Lonely Mountains Downhill, which I came out of as a 6, thinking it was a decent arcade high-scoring bicycle game, but it could have been more. Turns out, no, that's what I wanted. I wanted Lonely Mountains Downhill. That's now a 7. So well done, Descenders. You bumped up the score of another game. So if you do wish to get on your bike, go play Lonely Mountains. That's a much better game than this is.
I mean, I think I gave Lonely Mountains Downhill a 6 as well, because, it was a decent game. It was a relaxing time. Didn't have a load of roguelike garbage in it. But I find Descenders a lot more fun and exciting to play. I find the minute-to-minute gameplay in Descenders a lot more enjoyable than Lonely Mountains Downhill. I would say at the same time, though, this roguelike stuff does drag it down. You, as you said, if you want to succeed, you have to play as bored as possible. There's times in this game where you won't even ride on the track because the track's too dangerous. You'll just go on the mud to the side. Like
yes, that's how much all the time.
Yeah, that's the level of commitment you have to being bored. So yeah, in spite of the fact that I almost think this plays like a 7, but has the underlying systems of a 4. So I'm gonna give it the obligatory Game Pass 6 because I can't quite justify the 7. It's got too many problems.
And speaking of the obligatory Game Pass 6, let's move on to our next title, Max: The Curse of Brotherhood. This is an indie puzzle platformer. And so if you can't guess what score this is getting, you've not been listening to this show very long, my friend.
Oh man, I'm so sick of Game Pass. Oh God. Everything's a 6. All right. Anyway, let's focus. Right, Max: Curse of Brotherhood. So yeah, this is it's a puzzle platformer. It's an indie puzzle platformer as well. I just hate everything about it. Yeah. So look, I mean, it's a perfectly serviceable game as well. There's not even anything wrong with it, but I'm sick of puzzle platformers. I'm sick of this exact brand of indie game. So I came at this one, just wanting to hate it basically. And I've tried my best to power out of that kind of mind space and sort of treat the game fairly for what it is on its own. Try and act like someone who hasn't just played Unravel 1 and 2 when I went into this. And yeah, it's a decent little game. Effectively a side-scrolling 2D indie platformer game where you have a kind of magic pencil that can do different powers, and yeah, you use that to solve different puzzles through the game. And for what it's worth, it's fairly cool. You basically use it to, like, you can make platforms out of the earth. You can create vines to swing across. You can create like a water funnel that will blast you to the next area. There's fireballs you can make with it by the end. It's all these different elemental powers. And the game does some good stuff for them in its kind of puzzle sections. There's certain areas where I had no idea. Like, I just couldn't grasp what the puzzle was. And I'd end up frustratingly having a look on a guide only to see something and be like, I'm such an idiot. Like, I should have figured that out. And that's always kind of a good sign to me. I like when I look up a solution because I'm getting fed up. And the answer is actually something where I think, oh, you should have stuck with it and tried to figure that out, rather than looking at the puzzle and going, I would have never figured that out without this guide. So yeah, I think they're fairly well put together. I think the game falls down a bit when it tries to incorporate the kind of pencil stuff into its more action-packed sequences, because this thing's clumsy to control. Like, for reference here, like, you basically press a trigger in and it brings almost like a mouse cursor on the screen, and then you're using your analog stick to move that to the place where you want to use the power. And that sucks when you're in a chase scene. There's a monster behind you and I'm trying to bring up this stupid mouse cursor to make a pillar come up to climb up and stuff. Like, that's just never going to be a fun time, and you have to be frustratingly quick with it. as well. Like I usually managed, but it was by the skin of my teeth, and that's going to frustrate some games for sure. So yeah, your classic indie puzzle platformer 6. It's got some good ideas, and it's got some kind of clumsy sections that bring it down.
Yeah, there's a lot to like here. I agree with you that I actually think the puzzle design of this game is pretty good. I think there's a lot of fun stuff here, a lot of things which work together quite well. A lot of the powers end up linking together, which I like. They've actually thought about how these things will interact with each other rather than them just being completely separate powers. That's very cool. So later on, for example, you can shoot a firebolt at a branch, and then you can fire a firebolt from the branch. So that's quite clever. You're linking powers together. That's pretty cool. I like that. I appreciate that. And yeah, as you mentioned, there's some clever ways they weave these together throughout the game experience. It's about 7 worlds long, about 5 hours roughly to complete. It's not a crazy long game, but it probably wins about everything you can get out of its formula in those 5 to 6 hours, which I appreciate. I don't mind a game which knows when it's had enough and it's managed to wring out every bit of joy you can get out of it. That's pretty cool. I agree on the pencil. In the action sequences. It is very odd because when you move the cursor onto the screen, ignoring the fact it has this weird almost 1 to 2 second delay as the graphic of the pencil moving onto the screen happens. That kills me. But beyond that, you can't move your character when he's in that position either. So if you've not lined him up perfectly with the platform you're looking to raise or the vine you're having to jump onto, the chances are you're shit out of luck, buddy. You're going to have to do that again. So it's very much demanding perfection from you. It's demanding precision. And I don't necessarily mind that because the checkpoints aren't too bad. And it does add a very satisfying momentum to the game, particularly in its chase sequences. When they really get going and you've got somebody chasing you down and you're jumping over platforms and you're linking powers together, you feel pretty good about it. It's kind of fun. Yeah. It's kind of exhilarating. I like that a lot. It kind of almost reminded me of Uncharted at times, where that things just crumble all over the place, and you'd have to very quickly find the solution to it. And that's not exactly bad praise. If I'm getting vibes of Uncharted from your platforming, you've probably done something right.
That's fair. I mean, I was about to have a dig at it using Uncharted as a reference point because I was going to say, like, these guys played too much Uncharted when they made this game because on at least about 20 occasions in this story, it's not the fact that you're running over crumbling like ruins and stuff. It's that every time that happens, your character's kind of like, oh no, and like they're panicking, and that's just so Nathan Drake. I was just like, this is exactly played from, I've played this. Like it was such a direct take from that. But as you said, if you're gonna model your kind of action sequence structure behind something, there's certainly worse options than the Uncharted series. So I'll give them that.
Yeah, if you're going to be off-brand something, be off-brand Uncharted rather than off-brand, I don't know, destroy all humans. You want to be off-brand something good. And this game is off-brand something good. At its best, It does have a good flow and momentum to it. The story is essentially not there, but it tries to make more of a deal of it than it needs to.
Yeah.
You play as a kid called Max. He's ugly as shit. And you have to bring him into this world to save your annoying little brother who's captured, and he's going to get turned into some old man or something. I don't know. It's kind of like the Vulture from Spider-Man from the TV series. I think they're essentially going for that vibe.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing to note here is you play as Max, and he's an absolute prick. Like, there's no getting around that.
Oh, he's awful.
Like, this game starts with him basically getting home from somewhere, and his little brother's in the room playing with some toys, and he's like mildly annoying Max because he's been a bit loud. So Max just opens up a Google search and searches for how to get rid of him permanently forever, and says some magic words, and then this big old little worm-looking man comes in and steals him, and tries to take over his body, and that's entirely because Max wanted to wish him away for being a bit loud. Like, what a dick, I don't really want Max to succeed. I kind of thought, it'd be nice if this game ended with his brother getting out and him just staying in there and getting stuck with this creepy old man. It's just, why not? That's a nice ending.
Yeah, there's not much in the way of affection you will have towards Max. He's also fairly annoying. Yeah. The fact that he does Nathan Drake chalk his way through most of the game, it's fine when you're doing it the first time. If you need to repeat sections and you've just got his whiny little kid voice going, oh, no, for like the 7th time, it's just like, oh, God, will you please stop? It does at least give me the motivation to try to do the puzzles because it's like, I can't hear it anymore. I can't hear his voice anymore. I need him to stop doing it. So that's kind of annoying, but I suppose kind of funny at the same time. The game looks okay. It's got that very happy indie style to it, which was popular 5 or 6 years ago which is when I think this game was released. I'm assuming it's 60 years old.
Oh, it has to be.
It just has to be. Even if it isn't, I refuse to believe that it isn't, because it so perfectly fits into those mold of games from that time. But, if I played this game 6 years ago, when a lot of these kind of titles came out, I'd have loved this. I'd have been bonko mad for this game. I've come to it after too much action indie platformer, too much Game Pass, too much life. I don't have it in me anymore to play games like Max the Curse of Brotherhood, which are perfectly serviceable platforming games. They're really not bad. I just don't have it anymore.
No, I'm the same, man. I mean, I had a borderline meltdown at the start of this section because I just can't do it anymore. Like, this game it's a decent game. It really is. But there's just too many miles on the clock now. Like, I can't keep playing indie puzzle platformers. I can't. There's too much, and it's done. And it's a shame for this game. It's not its fault I'm playing it like 6 or 7 years later than it came out, and it's not its fault I've played about 350 Game Pass games in the last year and a half. It's I really can't blame it for that. But I powered through this game, and I basically just had to take a step back and make sure I was reviewing it kind of fairly, because this game had the complete opposite spin of, we talked about Destroy All Humans earlier on today's show, and we said, we're giving it a 6, but we kind of enjoyed our time with it a lot. Whereas this game, I mean, we're giving it a 6, of course we are. It's the obligatory Game Pass 6. But I came out of it. I just hated everything about spending time on this because I'm so sick of these games. But I know that it's a decent enough game. There's really no way to say this is bad. I'm just completely fed up with the entire prospect of it. So yeah, as I said, 6 out of 10, it's a perfectly serviceable puzzle platformer. If you're really in the mood for one of these games, you'll probably enjoy it a hell of a lot more than we have. I think it really does do some good stuff. The puzzles, as we said, are super clever. So yeah, definitely a good time. The only one thing I do have to mention actually before I move on is this game scored some serious douche points with me as I was playing it, because it does something which you just don't see a lot of in games anymore, which is that it records its own video clips that it thinks are cool.
God. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just like, right, nah, like, enough of this. Like, I just jumped over a stupid gap in your stupid scripted action sequence in the game. Why would I want a clip of that? Like, I didn't do anything spectacular. That wasn't a highlight of me doing something special in a game. Every player of Max the Curse of Brotherhood has a clip on their Xbox of them going over that stupid gap while Max is going, no. Like, we all have it. The clip's everywhere, Like, I don't, stop taking your own clips. Stop deciding which parts of your game are cool. Like, that's so, it's just cringy, man. I just, hated that. Kind of hated the game. 6 out of 10.
That's a pretty fair summation. I was very close to actually sending you every single game clip I got. I thought, how much would it piss him off if I just sent him every clip I got from Max the Curse of the Brotherhood? I was going to say, if I could break you, I'd just go, what's he sent me this? Oh, he's just gone over another ledge.
Little I was already broken.
But, look, as Andrew said, this isn't really a bad game. It's never a 7, even if we were not bored of this game. There's better indie puzzle platformers out there. There's far worse, though. I mean, just go back a couple of weeks to our Unravel double build to find 2 games which are significantly worse than this one. So it can be done badly. But Max the Curse of the Brotherhood, it's okay. It's fine. It's got a cool mechanic. It uses it okay. You've just played it. Even if you haven't played it, you've played it. You don't need to, but if you absolutely feel the need to, by all means, the obligatory Game Pass 6.
All right, then. So, as always, let's close out this week's show with this week's gaming news. And I mean, top story's got to be our boys at Konami, just trolling the gaming world again. So, we reported recently when we were talking about E3, all the big companies showing up for it. Pretty much everyone big outside of Sony was going to be there, including Konami, which is surprising because they've only made pachinko machines for about the last 15 years whilst completely ignoring all their franchises. Well, they're not going to E3 anymore. so they've withdrew from that. I've got the statement here from Konami. I'll give it a quick readout. So here we go. So due to timing, we will not be ready to present at E3 this year. We want to reassure our fans that we are in deep development on a number of key projects. So please stay tuned for some updates in the coming months. Yeah, I mean, I got to give them some credit, Josh, because not only are they just trolling the entire fan base by pretending to do E3 and then not doing it, they're keeping them on the hook by saying that they're in deep development on some projects. Like I love it, like they're just keeping them there. It's like, oh, don't worry, guys. There's gonna be more Castlevania. We're on the way with that. It's gonna be great. A bit of Metal Gear. Like, nah, there's not. None of it's happening. It's just you'd love to see it.
Oh, you've got to love Konami at this point to have adopted some form of long-form comedy art project where they're just trying to piss off as many people as humanly possible in the most hilarious way they can. Look, I would imagine that Konami actually announced they were going to E3 and then quickly went across their studios and went, okay, guys, so what have you been making? And then they just went, well, nothing. You've not told us to make anything.
Yeah.
Went, oh, shit. So we got nothing to show. No, we've not just developed pachinko machines. Oh shit! Can we just take pachinko to E3? Oh, that'd be funny. That'd be funny if we just bought a load of pachinko machines. Nah, bollocks! Let's just lie. Let's just say that we're in deep development. Just somebody make Metal Gear Survive 2. Just quickly, something cobble it together. We'll announce it in 3 months' time. It'll be good. Nobody will notice. We can get the lols again. It's all good.
Yeah, you guys over there, you make Survive 2. You guys on the left, I want you to collect all our pachinko machines and make a digital version of them that we can sell in a package. But we'll sell each table individually for £10 each. You guys get on that. We'll announce that next year. Let's go. Just man, it's great. I honestly, there's no world in which I believe they have anything cool in development right now. Why would you? Why would you trust anything from Konami regarding games development? Like, they've just spent the last 10 years acting like the entire games industry has wronged them in some way, and they're just out for revenge. It's almost nice. I almost feel more comfortable knowing that they're doing nothing again. It's like we're back to the normality now, and I can just feel nice and safe.
It's like the end of a Simpsons episode, and everything's just back to normal. You can all just go, I wonder what the next wacky Konami adventure will be. All I know is it'll end with them releasing nothing you want, because that's what Konami does now. They are just a long-form art project, and God bless them for doing it, because they gave me a big laugh when I saw this news story today. The only words that came to mind were, of course. Exactly. And I wasn't even disappointed. I just went, of course not. They still expected them to turn up.
Yeah, no, exactly the same, man. I just knew it was coming. It's nice to have the confirmation. I love the speed of it as well. Like the distance of time between confirming they were going to go and backing out is like about a week and a half. Like, it's so quick. You got to respect it. But anyway, let's move on then to something I very much don't respect, which is Activision. Activision are doing some bullshit with Call of Duty, which is always nice. So Toys for Bob, the studio behind Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, and they also made the Spyro Reignited trilogy, which was a fantastic set of remakes. Love those games. Yeah, they're done, basically. They've now been demoted to being a support studio to help Activision with Call of Duty Warzone. So they're just going to be, making little bits of content for the Battle Royale side of Call of Duty going forward. And, this doesn't read like a short-term deal. This sounds like, because Warzone is apparently going to just be living on alongside the early Call of Duty releases as well. So this is just an endless project that they are now pegged to. And apparently they've had quite a lot of staff kind of leave or hand notices in, because they clearly had a big passion for making the games like Crash 4 and like Spyro Reignited. They probably don't want to spend 2 months making a MP5 for people to use in Call of Duty. It's a really disappointing state of affairs. This Toys for Bob are one of my favorite kind of new up and coming studios, and it's a real shame to see their output pushed into something like this.
Well, between this and the Vicarious Visions, which got absorbed into Blizzard, Activision has just given up on the prospect of making any other games apart from the 3 or 4 shit ones they already make, which is fine. Call of Duty is okay. It's a perfectly good game series, but I'm 30 years old pretty much now, and I've played enough. I've played Call of Duty. I've served my tours of duty, let me tell you, and I've got the dog tags to prove it. So I quite enjoyed the output of Boys for Toys, as I'm finally going to call them, because that's all boys are for toys. That's what they're all for. So the sister splinter group, which is going to form on Toys for Bob, called Toys for Boys, is going to be a wonderful thing. But I liked Toys for Bob's output. I liked Crash Force Spyro. Damn good remakes on those games. They did a damn good job on them. And I like the fact Activision was seemingly embracing some of its franchises again. Clearly, they've made the money they could off them, and they've decided, well, we're not going to make any more. And look, they're in the right to do it. They're the big boys at the top of the shooter. That's what they can do if they wish to. But it's just an absolute crying shame that once again, between this and Vicarious and Ubisoft making the same game, we've got too many big studios now playing it too safe. And it's very, very dull. I wish, even Sony closing down Ham Studio. It's too safe. Everything's become too safe in the gaming industry, which is why, as ever, I call for Sega to come back and, spark things up again. But they clearly won't. So we're just going to be stuck with the same old franchises over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It is getting really worrying now because, we did that big report on Sony and how they've shuttered a lot of places, and they're even trying to funnel basically all of their Western development. They're trying to just funnel through Naughty Dog now. You guys, like one big studio will be a support studio for Naughty Dog. Another one will make an Uncharted remake with Naughty Dog supervision. It's just, it's all just getting so like, you can't be this focused on just the mega hits because eventually people will get sick of those franchises and you need to have started building the next ones. That's how things like Uncharted and Last of Us came about. They were new ideas originally, and you've got to keep having some of that output coming through the industry. And at this point, really, it's the number of big studios that are allowing people to do that, it's running low. I mean, you've got like potentially Microsoft, although obviously we'll have to wait and see what their actual output is because we don't have any games from them yet. So we'll have to wait and see on that. And then, arguably Nintendo, Nintendo stick to their big franchises, but they're not afraid to innovate inside the franchise, which I like. You get different types of stuff with Mario Odyssey, with Zelda Breath of the Wild. So yeah, it's getting, I don't know, it's getting a bit rough now. Maybe everyone will be making pachinko machines in 20 years. Maybe Konami have got ahead of the game. It's just, that's where we're going. Everything will be pachinko. But anyway, let's move on then. We've got there was a Sony State of Play this week, so that's definitely worth us covering. Now, I was a bit disappointed in this show, if only because, they made a point of saying we're doing a Sony State of Play event and it's going to be focused on Ratchet and Clank. Now, they didn't say it's literally just Ratchet and Clank. So I kind of thought, all right, I need to check this out. I need to keep up to date with what's going on, find out all the latest news. But at the same time, I'm so sold on Ratchet and Clank that I literally don't want to see any more of it. I know everything. I know enough about it. I love what I've seen. I want to go in as blind as possible now. So then I got stuck watching this State of Play that was basically a 2-minute announcement for a Subnautica Below Zero game, which is a sequel or an add-on to Subnautica, which I couldn't care less about, but will have to play because it's in Game Pass. Thanks, Game Pass. And then Among Us is coming to PlayStation, which, whatever. And then it was 15 minutes of Ratchet and Clank that I watched. And, again, thought this looks fantastic, but I wish I hadn't watched it because I want to experience it for myself. So I don't know. If you're going to, this might as well have just been a 15-minute Ratchet and Clank showcase that they literally just said, we're doing a Ratchet and Clank showcase. I don't know why they bothered to chip in like 2 minutes of other announcements at the top of it. It just felt a bit muddy to me. I'm just not sure that was the right call.
I hate to break it to you, dude, but you didn't read the small print. They literally said this was Ratchet and Clank and 2 indie games, which is why I didn't watch it, because I knew I was going to buy Ratchet and Clank, and I couldn't care less what the 2 indie games were, because they'll probably end up in Game Pass.
Yep.
So
and there you go, they are both in Game Pass. So.
They're going to both come to Game Pass. So that's such is life. Look, I think Ratchet and Clank continues to look fantastic. I can't wait to play it. What they're doing with that game looks really cool. Looks like it's going to be the best looking game I've seen on a console, at least, for a very, very long time. So very much looking forward to it. From the odd screenshot I treated myself to look at. I didn't watch the video. I'm going in as blind as possible to Rift Apart. I think it looks fantastic. And as for Subnautica, I'll play the crap Game Pass version, but I will certainly not be playing this. And Among Us is just not my bag. But, that's State of Play for you. On the whole, you just never should watch them. They're just a ginormous waste of time.
We are at a point now where realistically, the only company who can seem to put these shows together is like you got your Nintendo Directs that are usually well put together, well produced, fun watches. Microsoft are spending 5 hours on Twitch showcases, so definitely don't watch theirs. Sony give us this crap. And then, I watched an Oculus showcase from Facebook about the Oculus VR headsets. And it was, if anything, worse than all of them. It was like a 25-minute thing. And they spent 20 minutes of it talking about updates coming to games that were already out. I was like, what is this? Like, what are you doing? So yeah, nobody knows how to do a showcase, apparently, is the lesson I've learned this year. It's absolute garbage. But yeah, look, Ratchet and Clank looks fantastic. Do need to correct you a bit because you did say you're looking forward to playing it. I think you meant looking forward to putting it on your shelf and not having time to play it. So I'm also looking forward to putting it on my shelf and not having time to play it. It's gonna be lovely.
Yeah, exactly. I'll have it on my shelf. I think that Yuffie episode comes to Final Fantasy VII the day before.
That will look lovely
Ratchet
on your shelf.
That I will probably download and play because it's only 3 hours, right? I could squeeze that in, surely. Or do I just buy Integrate on the PS5 for no reason and just stick it on my shelf? Also an option. Very tempting options.
Yeah, it'd look real nice on that shelf, man. That's what I'd be doing. But anyway, that is all the news we have this week. And that's the end of the show. So if you'd like to catch us on social media, you can find us on Twitter at Beat the Sheet. We will be posting the latest Game Pass updates when we get them. We should be due some new additions in the next couple of days. So yeah, follow us there to find out about those. If you want to drop us an email, you can find us at beatthesheetpodcast@gmail.com. And
Send us your Allens. Send us
Allens, please. Yeah, we need as many gaming Allens as possible so we can do the Allen countdown at some point down the line, which we will actually do. I genuinely do want to do an Allen countdown now, so that's happening. But definitely send us those. And yeah, until next time, I'm Andy Wood, and I am up to 72% on the sheet. Been really, really working those quick completions this week, so nice progress made there.
And my name is Josh Stevenson, and I'm up to 62% of the sheet because I've been hitting those ultra combos on Killer Instinct and playing some other crap. So yeah, there we go. We're working our way up.
There we go. Big pile of 6 out of 10 games. Love to see it. Right then, well, thanks a lot for listening this week, guys, and we will catch you next week.